Hello, guys, and welcome to the Dancing Heart podcast. In this week's episode, I have Sarah Hoverson on the show. She is a self-love and embodiment coach, and she is here to help our sensitive lover girls to break out of the good girl pattern, embracing the power, like really stepping into your self-worth so you can be in a healthy relationship. Not just with a man, but also, first of all, with yourself. Sarah has been through her own journey when it comes to love. Recently, she posted a reel that went viral on Instagram, and she has a lot of comments on that, not just from girls. The girls loves her reel, but she also has some guys that is like hating on her. So I am just curious and super excited to dive deeper into the topic all about dating, how to end toxic dating cycles, and really choose yourself. So welcome to the show, Sarah.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. It's a really important conversation to have.
I'm so excited to have you here. And before we press play, we just started to have all of these juicy conversations, and we just went off with this. You shared with me that one of your reels recently just went viral because you put some truth out there in terms of how you step out of your toxic dating cycle in the past. So tell me more about your story and how you now are helping other women to choose themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a trial. I started doing trial reels in February, and because trial reels aren't shown to your followers, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna speak my truth. I'm just gonna talk about all the crazy shit that I used to do whenever I needed validation from men, whenever I totally self-abandoned in order to get attention and validation and really get my sense of self-worth on whether a man wanted me, whether they thought I was hot. I really lost my connection to myself for many years, and I was in very toxic cycles with men, but also really with myself. Like, I actually didn't date any like crazy men where we had this like really, toxic or chaotic like dynamic. It was really with myself because I was in my head so much, and I just had a lot of patterns of self-abandonment. And I know that so many women can relate to that. And then there's also that affects how you show up in relationships, the types of men that you're attracted to, the types of men that are attracted to you, because it's all projection and, like attraction energy. And so the first reel that I had that went semi-viral was like 100,000 views, and the men were really mad in the comments. They were talking all sorts of shit, telling me how crazy I was, and like that I'm the problem and I need therapy, and just like all these things where I'm like, first of all, this was years ago. I'm fine. But also it was like inspiring because I saw how many women related and how many women were in the comments, and they were saying, I've done this. I was getting DMs from women. I could see like my save count, which is really important, because even if you're not, like commenting, because this is not stuff that a lot of women are just like, oh yeah, me too, because it's shameful. It's like we're embarrassed. We're like, fuck, I feel crazy. But I could see all the people that were saving it, and I was like, yes, like I'm going to keep making content around this. And yeah, a couple weeks ago, actually it was only like a week and a half ago, I made one that now has over 1 million views, and it was unhinged things I did in my last situationship that make me cringe now that it's over. And to be honest, this was kind of like a culmination of like things that I've done over the years in the past. But for the sake of the hook, I said, my last situationship. But they were all things that I did. And they honestly really were not that crazy. It was like, yes, I did drive by a situationship, someone that I wasn't even dating. I drove, so we had plans, like at night, like we were going to meet up at like 9 or 10, and he bailed on me, and we lived a few blocks away from each other. It's in Austin, and I drove by his house, and multiple times, I fucking got out of my car and was like in a bush, and I saw another girl show up and I lost it. I went home and I had a panic. It was my first panic attack. I mean, hyperventilating, like, oh my God, my self-worth was just in the trash. And then like he reached out to me a couple days later and I went right back, and it was just like, I can look back now and be like, oh my gosh, like my sense of self-worth was so low. I didn't have those boundaries. I didn't have those standards. I needed to be wanted by somebody else, And so, yeah, there was another one on there that was like looking at his follower count, and like if a girl was following him or he started following someone else and like going on these rabbit holes. But a lot of the other ones were really like about me, like losing my sense of self, losing, like obsessing over another guy to where I could like barely even focus at my job. Like really like putting all of this emphasis on finding someone and really losing myself. And the men are so mad. They're so mad. They're calling me all sorts of names. They're doing all this stuff. But then there's so many women in the comments that are saying like, yes, I've been through every single one of these things. I know exactly. And then there's some that are like, girl, this list is nothing. I've done so much worse. And so I really like am feeling so inspired to keep going down this path, because shame is like the lowest like frequency, that we can be in. It is paralyzing. It will keep us stuck, and it keeps us in these patterns because we lose our sense of self-worth and we start to think that we're not better than that and that we can't get out of that and that we deserve that. And so we can continue to talk about shame and getting out of that cycle, but I just like want to say that I just know that as someone who was in that pattern for like a full decade and always wanting to be in a relationship, and then like honestly knowing, like realizing that the only way I was going to be in a healthy relationship was if I healed the shit that was going on with me.
Yeah, from the insides.
Mm-hmm.
Inside out. But oh my God, Sarah, thank you so much for sharing this and for just being a voice for so many women out there that is going through the same and that is feeling this like the shame because no one is talking about this. And I'm so glad that you're just throwing it out there and just getting so much attention, because you see that there are so many that is struggling with the same things, and including myself. Like I can see myself in a lot of these points. And where do you think this shame is coming from? Like, why do we carry so much shame around this? And why we're so afraid of just being ourselves and just expressing it?
Yeah. So a lot of times, I mean, so as women, we have this like feminine energy, and it's very potent. It's very powerful. And I don't think that when we were younger, we were taught to appreciate and respect it. And a lot of times for women that act out sexually, it's because they had unmet emotional needs from childhood. And that's not placing the blame on the parents, because, a lot of times parents are just doing the best that they can. But if we have unmet emotional needs, we'll try to seek out something to fill that for us in teenagerhood, in young adulthood. And if the pattern isn't fixed or healed, it'll continue into adulthood. And so we're seeking connection. And the way that we were taught when we were younger is that our bodies are the way that we can form connection with men, because we're taught that our worth is based off our value, and our worth is based off our appearance. So we use this in a way to like give to a man to receive this attention and love. But that's not what we're receiving, because a lot of the men are not in the position to give us that emotional need, because they're still growing and developing and learning. And that's fine. And I think there's definitely a healthy way for that dynamic to go. But what's happening now is that men are like shaming women for their sexuality, for being open. And it's like, it takes two people to have sex, first of all. Second of all, like, why are women the bad ones? It's like this morality thing that men have said, like, you're immoral if you're a woman and you want to have sex or express yourself sexually, but the men are not held to that same standard. And then we're told all this stuff by men that we're not good enough, we've lost our value, we, are used or expired, or all these terrible terms where it's like, actually, no, like nothing that you could do would ever affect like your value and worth as a woman and as a human being. Like we're a soul, we have this soul and we came here to earth to connect with people. But there's all these shame stories that can get very deeply embedded into the psyche, and they really affect how we view ourselves, and then in turn, what we think that we're worthy of receiving. So if we're told by men that we're not good enough, or we're sluts or whores or whatever it is, then like that gets internalized. Even though our logical mind might be like, no, wait, like I'm good enough, on a very deep level, it'll start to become our truth. And what happens is like our subconscious mind will continue to create situations to keep that identity intact. So like the ego always wants to keep the identity intact, even if it's very painful for us. So that's why we can be so self-aware and know that these patterns are hurting us and they're not good for us and that's not what we want, but we will continue to play out the pattern until we can get to those deeper levels and heal. And that involves meeting your own emotional needs first.
Yeah. Meeting your own emotional needs first. So I know that you have been through this journey yourself and now you are on the other side. So can you take me through the turning points and how you turned everything around so now that you can be on the other side and like talking so freely about it and really expressing like, hey, this is who I am, like from a place of empowerment?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would say that these cycles for me began in high school. And there's this other part that women are shown of like, oh, this powerful, independent woman, she doesn't need a man, she can own her sexuality. And this is a beautiful story and it can be true in so many ways. But we also have to keep in mind that there are emotions in play. And I think for me, I tried to disconnect from my emotions because I had been hurt by my first boyfriend, who I had like lost my virginity to, and he cheated on me. And so there's this deep wound that forms of like, maybe I'm not good enough. And like, I'm going to prove my worth to everyone else by acting like I don't care and like being, like super hot and wanted and popular and like all these things. We're just put on this persona. And if you put on a persona long enough, you really lose who you are behind that. But I lived in that place for so long, through college, even after college. And I did have a couple of like really good boyfriends that I cheated on. And I felt so guilty for that because in my heart, I was like, I'm better than this. I know that I don't have to do this. But again, like the subconscious, and there's all these things at play, like maybe subconsciously protecting you from being hurt. So you hurt the other person first, but then you feel so guilty for it. So then you're in this guilt and shame spiral. And that is the place that I lived for very long. And after I had two, healthier relationships that kind of, I fucked up. And then I was in like a healthy relationship, and then he broke my heart twice. So it's like we just accumulate all of these things, they pile up, and we just make it mean something about us. And then my story deep down was like, like, I don't care. I don't care. Like I'm emotionally gonna put up this wall, even though I would say I want a serious partner. I want to get married. I want a boyfriend. I want this. At the same time, I was telling another story. I don't give a fuck. I'll do whatever I want. Da 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 da. And it's like you're living in these two like separate like spaces, and what you need to do and what the goal is congruence, and to have what you really want and like be that, like knowing what you want and like living in alignment with that and making choices in alignment with that. Because what I was doing was continuing to make choices that showed myself that I wasn't worthy of love, and wasn't worthy of like a deep relationship. So I would have like one night stands. I would have situationships. One of my like rock bottoms for me was like being a side chick from a guy that had a girlfriend. And again, like just it was an ego thing. It fed my ego because I was like, oh, I'm so hot that this guy doesn't even want his girlfriend. He wants me. But at the end of the day, I have no one to hang out with. No one's taking me on dates. I'm crying alone in bed. I'm like, they're like these two things don't match. And yeah, I went through cycles like that. And then like, yeah, the last kind of my rock bottom when I finally was like, I'm so done with this, is I had met, this was like during the pandemic, and I had gone onto a dating app and met someone that lived in another city here in California. I did not know him. We just chatted, and he invited me to go up to his house for a party for like 4th of July. And I flew my ass to another fucking city in Northern California, partied with him all weekend, came home, and then he started being super manipulative. I could see the signs. I've never dated a narcissist, but I know what signs to look for. So he would start to play these, games like where he would tell me he was going to call at 8 and then never call and never text. So I'm staring at my phone and I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, the anxiety that gives you. You're literally checking your phone like every 5 seconds. And then, just like doing manipulative things and like trying to control me, kind of tell me like what to do. And I was like, oh, hell, absolutely not. This is, I'm not going down this path. And that was like when I actually hired my own self-love coach. And that was back in 2020. And truly after that, once I started to do the inner work, I got into a long-term relationship 2.5 years after that. That was a great relationship for me. It ended, but it ended in a way that I was really proud of, where it was like I was able to walk away from the situation that wasn't serving me anymore. And then I met my boyfriend that I'm with now, and we've been together for almost 3 years, and it's a really healthy relationship. And so I feel like at some point you just really have to put your foot down and say, I'm not doing this anymore. And you just have to be willing to like do the work to get to the other side and to know that that person is going to be out there. A healthy relationship is available for you if you make yourself available for it.
Exactly. Wow. What a story. It's so interesting because I think like I also resonate with what you shared and being in this dating cycles. But then it's funny because you have what you said about your subconscious mind is telling you one story, but then your ego has another story. So, and they're not in alignment. So you're waking up and you want this, but then your soul, your energy is screaming something else. So of course, that's what you're going to attract. So you said that you hired your self-love coach and then you started to really change from the inside out, and you could also attract different men, and now you are in a healthy relationships with someone that you've been dating for like to be with for the over the past 3 years. So I'm just curious, like what exactly, like what are the steps? I know that you have something that is called the chosen framework that you use for your clients, and I'm just curious if you could share something like practical tools, like what exactly did you do in order to get from where you were in where you are now?
Yeah. I would say there's like 3 main things, just at a high level. But the first thing, and something that I do with my clients, is making a values list, because I think what we do is we can have a list of all the things that we want in a partner. And I know that I did that in the past, right? But then you actually have to be very honest about where you stack up to that list and start holding yourself to higher values and higher standards. And I know like when I was in that, I was the side chick in this relationship, and this was when I started to see an Eastern medicine therapist. Like he, practiced Buddhism and studied Buddhism and stuff. And I just remember one thing that he told me. He's like, if you don't respect relationships, you will never be in a healthy, like respectful relationship. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. Like you have to be that first before you can attract a person. Cause it's like, why, another example that I love is if I was like dead broke and had terrible finances, why would a man who's like a millionaire who like, has all his finances together, like that would not be attractive to him? Like someone that had no respect for money, no knowledge about money, it's like you've got to meet yourself at that level. So doing a values list and really being honest with yourself about where you stand up to those values and honoring those in yourself before you can expect it to be mirrored out to someone else. And then nervous system safety. So because my nervous system was so wired for this chaos, I got like a high from these types of dynamics. Like it had been, so many years that my nervous system was seeking out this dopamine, this adrenaline that someone healthy, like when I had those healthy relationships in college, that was fucking boring to me. That's why I had to like throw a wrench in the thing, because it was like I had to create the chaos because I couldn't just be normal. So creating nervous system safety with yourself and then really knowing what you need, like on an emotional level, what is it that you're actually needing, and being able to create that space, that pause with yourself to say, what do I really need in this moment? Do I need to go out to the bar and get wasted and find someone to hook up with? Is that what you really need? And then like knowing how to give that to yourself. And that's a whole nother process. And then the third thing I would say is, after you have this nervous system safety, is being able to express your needs and not be afraid to do that. And I think that, I know we're going to talk a little about the good girl conditioning, but what happens is like as women, we're people pleasers. We are taught to give, we are taught to keep the peace, we are taught to kind of make our needs less than and to put others people's needs before us. And when it comes to asking for what you need in a relationship, that has to change. Like you have to be the advocate for yourself. You have to say, I don't like this. This doesn't make me feel good. I want something else. And if your partner, the person that you're seeing, can't give that to you, can't meet that, won't do that, then like you have to be strong enough to walk away. And I did not know how to do that. I literally had no idea. I was terrified to ask for what I needed. The only times I would was like, we'd be like drinking or something, and then I would get angry because I had been suppressing it. So then I would blow up, and then it would be like a fight. And it's like, that's not healthy communication. So healthy communication is so important, and being able to like speak up for yourself, ask for what you need, and be willing to walk away from that if that person can't meet that. Because I think that's another thing, is like we're afraid, we have this scarcity mindset of like, this is the person, and we focus on a person when it's actually not the person at all, because every person is just like a mirror for us, right? It's like an opportunity for us to express ourselves, and that'll be reflected back. And I think that a lot of the women that I speak to now and that I work with, I know how it is to get like obsessed with the idea of one person, but you really have to detach from that. And you really have to like put yourself and your own needs first, and trust that the person that can honor that and respect that and meet you there will do that. And that you're not going to have to like force anything to happen. It's like you being so sovereign in yourself, and you being able to say like, I know who I am. I know what I need. End of story. And like, if a man is going to like come in and can meet that, then amazing. And if he can't, then like, that's not your person. And that is a muscle that you have to build. That does not happen overnight.
I'm sure. Yeah. Choosing yourself and starting to, knowing what you need and knowing your values and expressing them. And you were mentioning the good girl condition, and like breaking out of that. Yeah. Like from the people pleasing and to serving everybody else, and to really just choosing yourself, like on a practical level. Like I know you listed some things of writing your value list and then expressing your needs. But then you said again, it's a muscle that needs to you need to
Exactly. Because
practice.
you can write that down and you can like say, these are my standards and my values, but like that putting them into practice when you're in the situation where your ego wants to default to the thing that it knows and that's comfortable. So it's breaking the pattern, and you have to break the pattern again and again and again and again so that a new pattern can form. And that's the sticky part, and that's where I know for me, that's where coaching was so valuable. And that's like with the girls that I work with, because like in the moment, your body's going to do things, your heart is going to do things, you're going to want to like, keep quiet. And so you really need someone to help like guide you through that, and to like tell you, like remind you how strong you are, remind you what you really want, remind you that like, yes, you're worthy of the relationship that you want and to be treated with love and respect and all of that, because it can be so easy to like fall back into those old patterns.
It is. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine today, and she is in where she's now like putting her new standards into practice. And of course, there's so much doubt in that phase as well. Really standing in your standards, no matter what the response is, it's just like it's hard. Like,
It
do you
is.
have any like how do you like
Yeah.
I know there
Yeah.
takes practice, but like how? What
Yeah.
would you say
Well,
to her?
what I would say is you can treat it like an experiment, because you'll be surprised that when you start asking for more, you'll get more. But we were taught when we were younger, don't ask for too much, don't be needy, there's not enough to go around. Like there's so many stories that we get when we're younger about being low maintenance and like, like don't be difficult and all that. That's the good girl conditioning. The fact is when you ask for more, you get more. And if you don't get it, it's because that person can't give it to you. It doesn't mean that there's not somewhere else, someone, because it's all coming from like source energy, right? Source comes through other people to meet our needs or to let us move on to someone that can meet our needs. And so like, I think that there's this detachment of like, you think the world is going to end if you ask for what you want and you don't get it. Okay, well, if you don't get it, then you just need to go ask somewhere else, you know? And I think
Yeah.
that this applies to so many things. Like, it's not just relationships. It's jobs, it's money. It's like the people who ask get it. If you don't ask, you're not going to get it. And like, that's a muscle. But with a cool thing, and why I say treat it as an experiment, is because once you start asking for more and like being high maintenance, the universe gives it to you. It's like you have to ask first. You can't wait for someone to tell you that you're good enough or worthy enough. Like you have to decide for yourself that you are worthy of whatever the fuck you want and that you're going to have it, and like that's it. And going back to the good girl conditioning, another thing that I wanted to say, because I know that for me, I didn't resonate with that, because I was actually like rebelling against it a lot. Like I was wild. I was like, no one's going to tell me what to do. I'm not people. Fuck that. Although I did have a people pleasing with men, I definitely didn't with like authority, right? Like my parents or whatever. It was just like, I'm going to do whatever I want. But the interesting thing is that rebelling, like this rebellious side, and people pleasing are like both in response to something else. It doesn't come from our own sovereignty. Rebelling is pushing against rules, right? And the good girl is like acquiescing to that, right? But it's like neither of those is fully in your power. That's still, both of those are still reactive. And so that's a big part of the deconditioning, is saying like, I'm not going to react to anything. I'm going to be in my own power, and make decisions based off of what I want and what's good for me. And that is the essence of like deconditioning.
Yeah, choosing what's good for you. And let's go into like being high maintenance. Like what is it to be high maintenance? Can you just take us into
Sure.
that deeper?
I think that what most people would think is like from a material standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And that can definitely be a part of it. And I have no problem with that. I think that being high maintenance and the way that I'm talking about is like being fully owning what you want and not being made to feel guilty for that or feel ashamed, and just being like, no, I want it for a reason. Like, I truly believe that whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever, if there's something that's on your heart, it's because you were meant to have it. And you denying what you want does not serve anybody. You know, it's like us denying what's in alignment with us, what we want, what's going to make us happy, because I truly believe that we were put on this earth to be happy and express joy and have all these amazing experiences. We weren't put here to suffer. So if you deny what you want and, you know, because you don't want to be too much or high maintenance, you're only causing your own suffering. And like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. There is, and what I love, there's things that I dislike about social media, but I think one of the things that I really like about it is that it just shows you the opportunity that's out there. Because if you see someone else having it and you get this response, especially jealousy, we can even talk about jealousy a little bit, because that means that there's a version of you that has that. And so you're being drawn to it. And the fact that you don't have it right now is creating this feeling of discomfort, right? But it's something that like you really want. Like, if I know when I was single and I would see people in, you know, healthy relationships, happy relationships, and I would be jealous. I would get resentful. I would be like, why? Why them? Why not me? And it's because like that was meant for me, you know? And if it's you want to go on beautiful vacations, it's like, okay, you can. Like, there's no one holding you back from that except you telling yourself that you can't have it. And the universe truly does. It's limitless. It's abundant. It can give you whatever you want, but that belief has to come from within you first. So first you build that belief within yourself, and then you start asking for it. I mean, you just got to ask. Ask and you shall receive. But yeah, we just weren't taught that. We were taught that being high maintenance means we're selfish or greedy or stuck up, like all of these negative things. And it's like, why? That's just a story. You know, all these things are just stories. Beliefs are just stories, and you can change those stories on like a subconscious level. And when you change the stories that are going in your subconscious, your reality shifts as well. Like, but that has to come first.
Of course. So I have a question about that, because when we are expanding, when we are leveling up to our standards, we tend to get tested by the universe from with different situations, right? So how do you really just standing in your power, like this is a test? No, I'm not choosing it. Like I'm sure you have some experiences around that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, I think that like a great way to think about it is like, if you knew for certain that what you wanted was behind this door, right? But this door here is already open and you can already see that there's something here, and it's like it's pretty good, right? But it's like, are you willing to shut this door that you know is here, that's pretty good, but it's really not giving you everything that you want, and trust and have this is like where kind of blind faith comes in. It's like you have to have the faith, you have to have the trust. But if you knew that what you wanted was behind this door, wouldn't you go for it? Like, wouldn't you do that versus like staying in the situation that really is not meeting your needs or your standards? It's like you have to make that decision, right? So like a test can come in, and I see this with men, and I had to go through this with myself, where I would have, you know, my values. I said, this is what I want from a partner. This is the type of way that I want to feel in a relationship. This is what I want. And then someone would come in that would meet, you know, like most of those things, but then like a few things weren't there. But they would be super hot, super fun. They would be interested in me. They would want to go out. And it's like, yeah, we could see where this goes. I could do that. Or I can say, actually, no, this isn't what I want. Shut that door. As soon as you shut that door, you're giving a sign to the universe that says, I'm ready to experience what I really want. But if you keep playing in that energy of like, I don't know, good enough, I'm going to settle, I'm just going to see, like that's not strong energy. And so like the universe gives you what you are allowing basically. So like once you hold firm in that and say like, like I really enjoy meeting you. I mean, I'm having a great time, but like, I'm honestly like, this isn't exactly what I'm looking for. And again, this comes back to that communication and having skills, like strong communication skills and being able to say that. And then you just like, that's your part. And then the universe comes in with something better. And like that, this is also discernment, right? Like being able to clearly see what's in front of you. I know that was a question that came in too, was like,
Yeah.
how can a lover girl like move with discernment when she sees potential? And I think that discernment is seeing what is right in front of you, because we want to think about the what ifs and all the things that could happen. And we see this potential, but we can't realize anyone else's potential. Like that's on them. So if they don't want to do that for themselves and for the relationship, so like that again comes back to this honest communication of like, if you really like someone and you see that you could have a future together, but he's not meeting certain needs that you have, emotional needs or whatever. And if you're able to sit down and have that conversation and say, look, I really would love for this, relationship to go further, but I need ABC, then this person is either going to actively want to meet those needs for you or he's not. And so I think that, like when it comes to potential, you have to be honest with yourself about what's right in front of you. If this person never changed, would you still want to be with him? Or do you just have this idea in your head that you're romanticizing this potential that isn't reality? Like dating is all about the reality of like how you feel and like what's right in front of you and making decisions based off of that. And, like using your voice and using your communication and being strong enough to walk away. So I know like I've seen it so many times, women that stay for years and years with men because they think that the man is going to reach this potential, but we are not their mothers. A man has to want to meet his own potential, and this is how women stay stuck for years, or they even marry the men that because they see this potential, and then it never gets realized. And then the women feel bad because their needs aren't met. And then they feel bad because they feel like, fuck, I made a bad decision, and it's like, you just have to learn how to make the best decision for you. And like, regardless of like the other person, it's like, what's the best decision for me? And like trusting that is going to lead you to the person, the relationship, the situation that you want.
Yeah, like really having faith and certainty and trust that the door is going to open up for you and really not lingering in the fear. Because I think for a lot of people, including myself, is like, oh my God, what if not? Like, let me just settle for this. It's okay. But no,
No, no.
it's
And
not.
that's, yeah, exactly. And that's how I stayed single for like 7 years, because I was like settling for like good enough, but it was never what I really wanted. And the next thing like years have gone by, you're still in an unsatisfying relationship. It really is like the better you can get at saying no, like the more you're going to get what you want. And I think that's also having those high standards and being high maintenance.
Yeah. But also, like, how do you know what you want? Because if you have been in this toxic dating cycles and being in these relationships for so long, like, how do you know what you want? Like,
Yeah.
can I have that? And then, like, really believing
Yeah.
that this is for you.
Yeah. So the way that I approach this is all like energetics. So it's not that you want a family, a husband, a relationship, a home with them. At the end of the day, you're looking for a feeling. And what is the feeling? So like being honest with yourself about how you want to feel, because that's where I feel like our attention gets so diluted or distorted, is we think it needs to look a certain way. But what we actually want is the feeling. We want to feel loved, secure, adored, cherished, valued, respected. And we need to make decisions based off of those feelings. And so when it comes to like saying what I really want, yes, you can have a picture of what you think it's going to look like, but you also need to know that like you're actually not in control of that, right? Like you are giving your desires to the universe, who is going to give you everything that you want in the package that is perfect for you. You might think it's going to look one way. It could look something different and be way better than you could even imagine, right? Like our human minds are so limited, and the universe is infinite, in the ways that it can provide for us. And I really think that when you know how to tune into the feeling of what you want and become energetically and emotionally aligned with that feeling, and this goes back to meeting your own emotional needs of how can I create this feeling for myself first? You can't be looking outside of yourself for the feeling. You have to know how to create that feeling inside first before it can be mirrored back to you by the universe, right? So that's exactly where I was stuck for so long. I was searching, right? Looking for someone or something to fill this feeling that I was empty in me, And like that is where the work is like, how can I create this feeling for myself so I don't need anything else outside of me? And from that place, you become so magnetic to what you want because you no longer need it. I mean, that's like the essence of detaching, right? It's like, I'm going to be fine no matter what happens. And I trust that I can take care of myself. And that energy is like so magnetic that will pull the right people to you who can match that energy, right? So like as an example, it's like if you have a really high standard for yourself, like on food, right? And like you eat all organic, you eat really healthy. It's like if someone was to like come up and be like, hey, look, I have like, all I can offer you is McDonald's. You shouldn't be like, I'm sorry, like that. I'm not a match for that. Like we're just not a match. And it's easy to walk away. He could be like the hottest person in the world and you just be like, that's not what I'm available for, but it's like, that like what you're available for. And like, that like, you're so solid in that you're not like wobbly. It's not like anything that could come in that would be like, oh, I don't know, like wavering. It's like, because you feel it yourself, that anything that comes in that would like disrupt that feeling in you, that feeling of peace, right? It's like how I was saying, I was like so addicted to chaos. And once you have like that peace in yourself, like chaos it's not appealing anymore. It's not attractive anymore. The type of guys that you were attracted to, they're not attractive anymore. That behavior is not attractive. And they're not attracted to you because that type of man that is chaotic, is playing games, is in his ego and stuff, he's attracted to women that are going to play into that dynamic. Like he's not going to be attracted to a woman who has high values, high standards, is solid in herself. Like he's not going to be able to like get to her, And so like that's why I say like these men, like they fall off your radar. Like you don't even have to worry about them anymore. You're playing at a different level, truly.
Yeah, like take notes, girls.
Yeah.
Take notes here.
I know. It's like this is the work that I did not know. Like I was so, again, like I said, I was disconnected to myself, but I was disconnected to the spiritual side of myself, and like that is what changed everything for me whenever I was like, oh my God, this is an energetic game. Like this is like, it's all within me. Like everything that I'm creating, that I'm experiencing, I'm creating it. Like I think that we lose our sight sometimes in like how we're co-creating all the time with the universe, and the universe is giving us exactly what we need. to learn and to grow and to move on. But we unwittingly, a lot of the times, play in this victim mode, right? Of like, I don't know why this is happening, and this keeps happening to me, and I keep finding that, I keep finding myself in the same situation with a different guy. And it's like, yeah, because you're not taking ownership for your role in it. And also realizing that only you have the power to like change that, and that to me is the essence of spirituality, of like being in tune with yourself and your emotions, and, making like the better decisions for yourself based off of what you want. And then like having faith that it's going to happen.
Yeah, having faith, like it's so important, and doing the energetic works as well. And I think that's what you said, like this is something that so many are disconnected from. Like everything happens from an energetic place from within. And you said you were single for 7 years. And for someone maybe feel like, why isn't it anything happened to me? Is something wrong with me? Like, why am I
Mm-hmm.
stuck? There's no attraction. There's no guys. Like, it's like dead. Like,
Mm-hmm. Well, it
why
wasn't
would
dead
you
for
say?
me. I was in,
Okay.
I know it is for some people, but for me, I would find myself in relationships that would last like 2 or 3 months, like they wouldn't go very far. I would start talking to someone and then it would fizzle out or something would happen. Or what would happen a lot of times is like, yeah, like the way that I approach dating, which I think is very common. So like no shame, although I felt shame about it, was like I would hook up with guys. Like I would drink a lot and I would just go out. I would hook up with guys pretty quickly after dating, telling myself that like I could disconnect and that there wouldn't be like an emotional connection. But there is an energy exchange happening whenever you are sleeping with somebody. Um, and yeah, I think that I was like gaslighting myself and saying that like I could just be casual, but like I couldn't. My emotions every single time would get involved. And even if this person was not a good match for me, I would take it personally when it ended or like when it didn't progress. Even if I didn't actually like this person, it would be an ego hit to me. And then I started to feel like, well, why didn't he like me? Why didn't he want to be with me? And then it's like it just eats away at your self-esteem. And so, yeah, like that was the cycle that I was in, where I was like always looking, I was going on dates. Again, I was like hooking up with a guy that had a fucking girlfriend. Like, I mean, those were the types of situations I was in. So, yes, I was single, but I wasn't just like, completely not dating, which I think that's a beautiful place to be. And I have gone through months where I've like, not dated, been celibate. And in fact, that was one of the things that helped me a lot whenever I started dating again, right before I found my boyfriend now, is that I stopped drinking for a while and I was dating sober, and that was new to me. Like that was really new, and I think that's an important conversation because it's so normalized, and I totally get it. It's fun. I feel like when I drink, like my personality comes out. I'm really fun, I'm bubbly, I'm chatty. It's like, but also alcohol does distort chemistry, and you can think that there's a chemistry there when it's actually not chemistry. It's just like the alcohol, and it's the way like you're actually not meeting especially if he's drinking too. It's like it's kind of like an alter ego, two alter egos meeting each other, but you're not actually meeting each other with like a lot of depth, like with who you truly are. So I know that changed a lot for me whenever I was like, I would go on dates and then I would be like, wait, like in the past, I might have gone on a second date with somebody because I was like, ooh, yeah, maybe. And then I was like, actually, like, no, like that would be a waste of my time. Like I know that this person is not for me and I'm not going to waste my time. And I think that was super helpful for me, is to like date sober and wait longer. Because I think that, and like I love to speak with like the sensitive lover girls. It's like we are sensitive and like we have feelings, and we honestly need to like, we need to be the keeper of like our hearts and our feelings and our emotions. And when we hook up and when we have sex, it's like that there is like an exchange that goes on, and it's too easy to like give the other person the power to make you feel a certain way about your worth, about, like your self-esteem, whether you get chosen or not. And that's the whole, like idea behind my one-on-one work, Chosen, is like, I really want women to choose themselves. I want them to feel okay being alone or taking the time away from dating to work on themselves. And then dating, I mean, you learn so much about yourself in dating. It's like these relationships and mirrors and all of this. So I'm not saying like stop dating altogether, but it's like being so solid in yourself and in those standards, boundaries, like protecting yourself while still being open, not being cynical, not putting a wall up, not saying there's no good men out there, or like, like these echo chambers of like all the terrible men. And it's like, you've got to also believe that there's wonderful men out there, and there are. And that, like, it's like there is a balance between keeping your heart open and being discerning,
Yeah. And then you met someone that met your standards, and that you were able to express your needs and having your values. Like, I mean, like you have, you are an example.
Yes, but I will say that my relationship now was a test for me at the beginning in boundaries and discernment, because at the beginning, my boyfriend did have a different communication style than me, and it gave me anxiety. So for example, like I'm on my phone like 24/7. Like if someone texts me, I'm like, like my friends, or I'm like, I'm on my phone. My boyfriend is literally not on his phone. Like he'll leave his phone in the other room for hours, like he's just like, he has a different communication style. So when we first started dating, I would get like panicked. I'd have this like anxious attachment, right? Where it's like, he's not responding. Oh my God. And like, I would literally have to like, I had to like sit him down and be like, this really bothers me. And I had to explain why. Like he didn't know what attachment styles were. He didn't know what love languages were. These are things that women, a lot of us know, and we identify with, and we think that men can read our minds. And if a man doesn't show up exactly perfectly, then like, but I literally had to do that with him. And there was actually at the beginning of our relationship, like I broke up with him because my needs were not getting met. And he came back, I blocked him. And then when I unblocked him, he reached out and he was like, I really want to make this work. Like, I really want to be that person for you, and I will work at it. And he did, and I think that's a beautiful thing, is like being willing to ask for what you need, being willing to walk away if it doesn't meet that. And then like, again, it's not just you. The other person has to be willing to like meet you there, like has to be willing to do that work. And like, you have to be willing to walk away from that. But the good news is that he did. And he has like just really worked at, I mean, a relationship is work, but like, I will say that the beginning was like a little rocky, and now it's just been like the healthiest, best relationship that I've ever been in, where like he's obsessed with me, like obsessed, like he would do anything. And he tells me all the time, how much he loves me, and we don't argue. And it's like, it's literally like such an incredible relationship where I feel like, it's because I was able to come at it from a very mature and grounded place, and being able to be like solid with myself, and being able to say like, I don't like this. This doesn't make me feel good. And I need you to change. I need you to like show up differently. And it wasn't because he was doing anything intentionally to hurt me. And that's another thing, is like, if a guy is doing things that he knows, is like hurtful, and he continues, that's a whole nother story, right? But sometimes guys just don't know. And you just have to tell them, you just have to tell them what you need. And like, either they're gonna show up in that way, or they're not. But I think that's another way. I think that's another time that women tend to stay too long, because they keep wanting to give more and more and more and more chances. And to me, it's like, and again, this is me personally, 1 to 2 chances. And then it's like, you got to cut your losses and go on to the next person, because you'll get into the sunk cost fallacy, where it's like, you've put in this time, you've put in this effort, you're afraid to walk away. You might have scarcity, which you were, I think, alluding to earlier, of like, well, what if there's nothing else out there? So like, da da da. And it's like, these are the games, the mind games that the ego wants to play. So you've got to disconnect from the ego and move with, based on your emotions. What's your body telling you? Your emotions is your intuition guiding you. And so being able to be led by your intuition, led by your emotions, and trust that you know what's good for you. Your higher self knows what's good for you, and not arguing with that. And I think that's where so many women stay stuck, is they argue for that. They argue for the other person, and keep themselves out of alignment with like what they really want.
Yeah. And also what you share with the relationship that you have right now, that it's so healthy. It's so like, this is one of the best relationships that you have been in. And I also believe that when you are able to express your needs, when you did that, it's also helping to build the foundation for the relationship. Like, this is the foundation. It's really strong from the beginning. So it can last as long as you want. It's like a house.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly right. A foundation that's built off of like trust, honesty, communication. Those are things that are really hard to establish later. Like if you enter a relationship that doesn't have a strong foundation and you think something is going to change, like it's probably not.
It's probably not. So Sarah, what do you have to say for all the single sensitive lover girls out there?
Yeah. I will say that I work with a lot of single women, but it's also women that might be in relationships that are like, might not be meeting their needs. So I want to talk to them too. But I would say, like, truly, like, whatever you can envision and feel for yourself, like, is possible. It really is. And I think that there's just layers of like this conditioning that needs to be broken through, and self-worth that needs to be built up again to bring you back to yourself, and to like allow yourself to be fully self-led, and know that you're whole in yourself already. You don't need anyone else to make you whole. And when you date from that place, you will attract the right people for you. The toxic types of dynamics and situations, they fall away. Like you're not a match for that anymore. You're not an energetic match. You're not, a match like at all. And I think that is something that I wish I understood so much sooner. I thought that if I just kept looking and kept putting myself out there and kept working on myself in terms of my appearance, because I was not doing inner work, I was doing outer work. I was obsessed with like, oh, I have to be hot, I have to look good, I have to look a certain way. That's the only way a man is going to want me. And it's like, that's, it's just like, instead of working from like the outside in, it's like you got to work on the inside first. And it also creates so much less anxiety in dating, which I know so many women like feel so much anxiety about dating or being on apps, or like, when is it going to happen, and seeing their friends getting, in partnerships and engaged. And like, I know how that feels. And like, being able to detach from that, being able to like focus on yourself, being able to like get to a really like emotionally solid place with yourself. So where you can date and it's just like, great, like I can date and it doesn't give me, it's like going grocery shopping. It's like, you're not going to have a panic attack when you go grocery shopping. It's like, you're so neutral around it. And I think that neutrality is so important, and that can only be done, from the inside out.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And if people are more curious, like, hey, I need Sarah on my side here. I really need her on my team. Where can
Yeah.
they find you? Where is the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. It's Sarah Hove. So ITSSARAHHOV. I'm sure you'll have it in the show notes.
I will put it in the show notes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I actually am creating a private podcast, specifically around limerence, which is obsessive thoughts about another person, because this is literally what kept me feeling so kind of crazy and isolated in my own brain, because I was like obsessed with the idea of someone else that wasn't actually based in reality. And it took up so much of my mental headspace and my attention. And I really just lost, like that connection to like my hobbies, my passions, my work, like all this stuff was consumed with the idea of someone else. And I know that this is such an important topic. So there will be a private podcast that the girls can listen to too.
Oh, amazing. And how did you get out of that obsessive thinking?
Yeah. Well, it's really understanding what's going on in the brain, because it's really more, it's more a chemical reaction that's going on in the brain. And it also goes back to having, those emotional needs that aren't met. So yeah, I go more into that on the podcast. And then, yeah, if any of the Lover Girls are interested in working one-on-one, then there's my one-on-one program Chosen. And so more information on that is in my Instagram and on my bio.
Amazing. Wow. Thank you so much, Sarah, for coming and sharing your wisdom and experience. And I know that this is going to help a lot of the listeners, including me.
Yeah.
I learned so much. Oh my God.
I know. Yeah. And I feel like we should definitely do some lives with like dating stories.
For sure. Like we can make another podcast episode about dating stories, because I have a lot to bring to the table.
I think it's important to like normalize this. Again, like we have so much shame, and just like thinking that we're wrong, bad, crazy, all of those thoughts will keep you in the pattern. When you realize that this shit is actually so normal, it's like you're not alone. This is normal things to do. That's when, like a lot of the work that I do too is shadow work. So it's like when you shine a light on the things that you are embarrassed of, ashamed of, they lose their power, and I think that's a lesson that I have learned so much over the last couple years, just being more visible online and just owning it, just being like, so what, like who cares? The only person that should care is you.
Yeah, the only person that should care is you. Exactly. Stop giving your power away to all of this unimportant situations and people.
Yeah. And truly, like it is so true that the right people will respect that. The right people will love you. And you don't have to appeal to everyone. You don't have to have everyone like you and love you and want you. It's like you need a handful of people that really care about you, and that's what the work is about. It's not needing that external validation anymore, and it's being a match for the people that are good for you.
Exactly. And you don't have to prove anything to them.
Right.
And they will also raise up to your standards. I saw this quote. I'm just going to end with that. There's a friend of mine, she sent it to me. She's like, oh, Aretha Franklin. She was a very attractive woman. And somebody asked her, like, so how do you deal with all this men? And she's like, you know what? Real men raise to the occasion. So that was her like answer to that. I'm like, yeah. And that's also sums up everything that you talked about too. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Yay, that was so good.